Yeah, I had to do my hair today because the grays were out of control. Y'all ladies know what that's about.
I feel like when you got naturally curly hair, like the two of us do, whenever you have some canas here, son unas presentadas, they come out, they're like, I'm here when you're curly.
They are so disrespectful and out of control. I can't handle it.
I'm with you, Mama. I'm with you, Mama. So folks are letting us know in the comments what city they're tuning in from. The Boogie Down Bronx, New Jersey. I'm loving it.
Oh, so for the people in the New York tri-state area. Yeah. So first of all, welcome to La Jefa Hour. I know Rebecca welcomed you, but I would like to welcome everybody as well. So good to see you guys. I feel very Latina Boricua. I mean, even with my shirt, the lipstick, the hair, you know, I'm very Latina today. Every day.
I love it. I love it.
But for those in the New York tri-state area, I have an event coming up, y'all, that you are gonna love. It is happening on November 15th in the heart of New York City, and it is called Gender Wars: The Rise of the Alpha Female Through the Lens of Modern Men. And so we're going to have both a female panel as well as a male panel talking about the rise of the alpha female and the dynamics between how men and women are interacting with each other, both personally as well as professionally. So it's going to be amazing, spicy, pero elegant. We're going to be sipping on some wine. We're going to be listening to some great music, some really great dialogue. But it's going to be an entire vibe, grown and sexy, only successful people in the house. So definitely come prepared to network and build real great relationships and maybe pick up a new boo. I don't know. It is boo season. It is cuddle season. So listen, if you on the market, I'm just saying, there's gonna be some good people.
You know what? A big percentage of people meet their partners at work or at work-related things. I met my husband through work, so hello.
You gotta show up. You gotta come outside.
That's right.
So grab your ticket. We're almost sold out because the venue is a private venue. It's super posh. It has amazing artwork. So they're limiting how many people we can have in the building. So that link is in my bio. Go purchase your ticket ASAP if you want to come through and have some fun.
I'm so jelly that I'm not in the New York.
I know. I wish you could come.
Pero está bien, está bien. Well, welcome everyone to the final installment of our 4-part series for Hispanic Heritage Month. I got to give kudos to Victoria because she was the one who had the idea. And she was like, oh, yeah, we should do something special. And I'm like, yes, I'm down. Let's do it. And I just want to say thank you because I've learned so much with and from you. And so I'm really excited we were able to partner this way. Me representing my expertise in the nonprofit sector, in the civic engagement sector, and you representing that corporate, private, for-profit sector, which, you know, we've got all the sectors covered pretty much in these talks. And they're all pretty much, there's similarities, but there's definitely some differences and approaches at times. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. And so today we're going to have an important conversation that's pretty timely, and it's all around our growth professionally through mentorship, coaching, and sponsorship. And so I just want to get a show, like people in the comments, if you have a mentor or a coach, we'll talk about what sponsors mean later. Can you please put in the comments, I do, if you have a mentor or a coach right now. And I also pinned, Victoria, why don't you talk a little bit about what we just pinned to the comments?
Yeah, sure. But first of all, Rebecca, you guys are going to witness a whole love fest because igualmente, hermana, like, thank you so much for this collaboration. I've learned so much from you. You already know I was obsessed with you when we found each other on social media, but the opportunity to work together just takes it to a whole nother level. So thank you so much for being you, for your energy, your expertise, organization, and all the things.
Love it. I love it.
I appreciate you as well, Mama. So as you were saying, we're going to be talking about mentorship, coaching, sponsors, and what is the difference. And I know our audience is comprised of both professionals who are still in the 9-to-5 grind. They love it. They want to stay there. but we also have an audience who is interested and are aspiring entrepreneurs, and or are current entrepreneurs already. And so when we do La Jefa Hour and we were thinking about the themes, we wanted to adhere to both of those audiences, right? And deliver content that we hope would resonate with you guys. And so one of the things that we've been offering throughout the entire series is a free training that's open to everyone. It's pinned here. It's also via the link in my bio. And that training is for those of you who are aspiring entrepreneurs, but you're just not sure where to start. Like, you don't even know what type of business to start. You're just kind of clueless, or you might have an idea, but you don't know, you know, what's the first thing you should do, how to scale up, and how to actually make the transition, right, from corporate to entrepreneurship without losing your financial security. So that's what that link is there for you guys. So let's get into today's topic, which I'm super pumped about.
So, and by the way, whenever you have anything to add, Victoria, as far as like, because I know both of us have mentors and coaches throughout our career experience,
yes,
and even now. And so just dive right in when you want to chime in. But, and we want, I feel like a lot of times the way we grow and learn is just by exposing other people to what our experiences have been. So, and if you guys have any questions, there's like a little icon on there. I don't know how it works, but you can submit a question and I'll be able to see it. So, how do we actually grow professionally in advance? So if you're someone that you are motivated, you're like, you know what, I'm climbing this corporate ladder or this nonprofit ladder, or, you know, I want to start my own business. That's right. Mentorship coaching, it completely applies to all these areas. And so right now, want to share some data about how we actually, studies have been done. All the Ivy Leagues have done research on this. It's like, how do we actually learn and grow professionally? And now's the time that people are doing performance reviews. And so during those performance review conversations, your boss will sit there and unless they're only focused on how you can improve, hopefully they're also sharing your strengths and how you're adding value. But at the end of that conversation, sometimes there's that pregnant pause of, okay, so is there anything else that you'd like to cover? That's your time to jump in and say, yes, I want to talk about my professional advancement of actually learning and growing with a mentor and or a coach. Everybody is unique in their experiences, in their growth areas. So you have to go into that conversation having some self-awareness, knowing what has been the consistent feedback from the people that are closest to you that you trust, as well as in your professional workspaces. What are those areas of growth? That'll give you a sense of the type of mentor or coaching you will need. And so research has shown that the way that we grow professionally is what they call the 70-20-10 model. 70% is on the job, actually doing the work, getting your cocotazos and cantazos and learning from those experiences. 20% is from mentorship and coaching, and 10% is from paid professional development. So like, I got to take a seminar to get a certification, or I want to go get my MBA, or, you know, formal education, being in a classroom, being taught something. The mistake that we make as employees in the 9-to-5 environment or in the W-2 environment is we think that when the boss says during during the performance review, okay, is there anything I could do to support you in your growth? The first thing we come to is, I need to take a class. I need to go get my master's in public policy, or whatever, fill in that blank as far as formal education. You're sometimes going to run into, especially in the nonprofit sector, budget limitations where they can't afford to pay for you to take those classes or go to, you know, get a degree. In the corporate sector, we know that there's some, you know, resources that probably are there, but you really should be advocating for having a mentor or a coach if you don't have one. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's the difference between a mentor, a coach, and a sponsor. And I know, Victoria, like, sponsors is something that shows up quite a bit in the corporate sector, and you can talk a little bit about that when we discuss it. But before I go on, can you tell me, girl, what has been your mentorship coaching experience? Like, when did you start working with one?
Yeah. And I think after that, we got to like introduce ourselves. We always forget do that because
Dios mío.
you know we're so connected to the people. But let me answer your question first, and then I'll lead into an intro on me for those who don't know me. But you know, I was introduced to my first mentor when I was in college. And her name was Shirley Rodriguez Romanesky. She was a pioneer in the Hispanic community, especially in New York. And I met her because I was part of a program that would take us to Albany, which is the capital of New York, and we would like debate legislation on the assembly floor. And she was very much in government. So I met her through that program, which is a pointer, right? If you are seeking out mentorship, coaching, join programs that provide mentorship and coaching, right? To your point, Rebecca, like you have to show up, right? You have to seek it out. It's not just going to land on your lap, right? A mentor is not going to come knock on your door and be like, hey, you don't know me, I don't know you, but just checking if you need a mentor or a coach. It doesn't work that way. There needs to be some type of connection that's made, right? Yeah. And so the connection was made with her and I then started interning with her at her nonprofit called 100 Hispanic Women. And she essentially became like my second mom. She was the reason why I landed on Wall Street after college. She got me my internship while I was still in school. She helped me land my first corporate gig. And
that's amazing.
She was absolutely incredible. She also is the reason why at 22 years old, I was on the executive board of a charter school in New York. I'm still the youngest member of that board.
That's amazing.
That was all because of her, right? And you know, that relationship was able to grow because there was a relatability factor, right? We were both women. We were both Latina. We both had a lot of sass. We both had a lot of class. And we also didn't take shit from nobody. And we picked up on that energy very quickly. And so my next tip to you guys, when you're seeking out someone to mentor you, to coach you, to sponsor you, seek out people that you relate to and that you resonate with, because the relationship will be easier for you to foster if foundationally you guys have something to resonate with. Does that make sense, Rebecca? Would you agree with that?
Totally makes sense. And it's so funny. There's so many similarities between your story. I didn't know this, you guys, but I just asked her, I cold asked her, and she's telling me this, and there's a ton of similarities. My first mentor was Mary Santana. She's still my good friend. She is a pillar in the Puerto Rican community here in Chicago. And we went to church together. And our mentorship relationship really started there when I was in college as well. And she was the one who introduced me essentially to the nonprofit sector because she was founding a nonprofit. Is that the right word? She was establishing her nonprofit at the time that I met her. My English is not very good looking sometimes. Yeah. And so when I met her, we really connected. Our families know each other, that sort of thing. But the great thing about mentorship is that it's more relational versus coaching. Coaching is more of a paid, like, you're a business coach, girl. People pay you for your time and your talent and the things that you've experienced. Same for me. You know, I coach executives on how to do nonprofit, you know, fundraising and management and board development, which gets me to the intros that you were saying we were supposed to talk about. Hi, I'm Rebeca, born and raised in Chicago, 20-year nonprofit executive. Now I'm doing that with my own business in consulting in the nonprofit sector, but I'm also a content creator here. Started in the pandemic, just sharing Puerto Rican recipes. And it's really cool to show that side of me, not just my professional. And, you know, it was a risk that I took sharing personally, you know, given my 20-year executive leadership experience, like, oh my God, is this going to ruin my professional brand? Estamos bien, como dice Bad Bunny. So that's me. Victoria, why don't you share your intro really quickly?
Yes, and everybody put an applause emoji in the comments. Aren't we so thankful that Rebecca decided to dare to leap and bet on herself and bring us into her home and show us all these amazing recipes that we're able to feed ourselves and our families? Throw the applause emoji in the comments.
Oh, thank you.
For Rebecca, because we are all thankful for you taking that risk. And it worked out, you see?
Yeah, it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, okay. So hi everybody, I'm Victoria Jenn Rodriguez, and I'm a top business and mindset coach. I was in corporate for 15 years, and 5 years ago, I decided to dare to leap and bet on myself and become a full-time entrepreneur. I have a consultancy where I work with organizations to help them build out strategic campaigns to attract, develop, and retain talent, AKA their human capital. And a lot of women started asking me, Victoria, how'd you do this? How'd you make this transition? How were you able to secure 5- and 6-figure contracts? And so I decided to start the Dare to Leap Academy, which is an online learning platform where I teach women who are in corporate or the 9-to-5 grind how to make the transition to entrepreneurship without losing their financial security, right? And that free training that's linked right there will help you guys get started. So Rebecca, I think we should do like, because we've been kind of hinting at it, but I think it would be helpful if we kind of create kind of clear definitions of what each is.
Sure.
And then we can go into like the differences and our experiences, because it's hard for people to kind of differentiate them all.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of mentor, coach, sponsor, and it'd be interesting to compare notes what your definition is.
Yeah, let's do that.
From the private sector. But for me, a mentor is someone that is much more relational. It's more like you bond on certain, like some baseline foundational elements that really, it's like someone that you aspire to be someday, personally and professionally. Mm-hmm. Whereas a coach is someone that you would hire to train you, to literally coach you around some of the skill sets professionally that you're probably lacking in and wanting to grow in. A sponsor, my understanding, this doesn't really show up. The only time it shows up in the nonprofit sector is like, for instance, when I applied to be a fellow at the Aspen Institute. Yes, your girl is an Aspen Institute fellow. And how did that happen is because I got 2 people to sponsor me, to say, we can vouch for Rebecca, that she is an emerging leader. This fellowship is like, because these are invite only fellowships that are incredible for your professional growth, more so for networking, because a lot of times if you're first gen in particular, you don't have the Rolodex or network of people that can help you advance in your career. Whereas these leadership fellowships are great because you get to interact through the sponsorship of other people that have probably gone through the same fellowship. Because that's how some of those leadership fellowships work. They tell their alums, hey, you all know from the experience what we are offering and who would be a good fit. So go into your network and start recommending and sponsoring potential fellows. And so that's what, for me, how sponsorship has shown up. But I know in the private sector, that probably shows up in a different way. But that's that's how I would characterize mentor versus coach versus sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, my definitions are similar. I would just add, with the mentor piece, a mentor to me is somebody that can motivate and inspire you in one way or another. It doesn't need even to be professionally related. It could be, you can find a mentor to help you be a better spouse, right? A mentor to help you to be a better friend, right? It doesn't always have to be linked to professionalism.
That's
right?
true.
And so that's how I think about mentorship. Somebody who inspires and motivates you. There's something about them that you want to emulate, right? And they have some wisdom and knowledge that they are willing to share with you. Yeah. And so they essentially organically become your mentor. Now, a coach is someone who has a proven process, framework, formula to get you from point A through Z, right? And so more than likely, you're going to have to pay for that formula, that strategy, in order to accelerate your process from getting from point A through Z, right? Mentorship is usually free, right? And coaching, you're paying because you are paying someone to essentially show you what they've done that has garnered a specific result that you are going after. And sometimes a mentor can provide that for you as well. You just have to figure out, there'll be some point where if your mentor is doing a really great job on showing you the ropes, you're probably going to want to end up hitting them off with something anyway, because you're going to be getting so much value for free that you're going to be like, oh my God, I have to thank you in some way, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the difference there. But a really good distinction is mentorship is usually very relational, free, somebody that you relate to, inspires and motivates you. Coaching is more of a transactional relationship where you are paying them for advice because they have a proven process, formula, framework for you to get a result. And then sponsorship is interesting. Sponsorship can play out in the private sector, nonprofit sector, in any sector. The way that I think about sponsorship is somebody that is going to put their neck out for you to say, you deserve to be in that room. You deserve that raise. You deserve that promotion, right? You deserve that opportunity. They're going to sponsor, right, you as an individual, giving your expertise to go and do something. Now, a mentor can do that too. And so could a coach, depending on the environment, depending on the access, depending on the situation. But with a sponsor, it's normally not as, I would say, there's not too many touch points with the sponsor that you would have with the mentor and a coach, right? A sponsor is very much aware of what you bring to the table, your strengths, your marketability, your value. They are aware of it, and therefore they understand like the business incentive of recommending you for something because they value what you bring to the table. But they're not necessarily, you know, meeting with you on a consistent basis like a mentor would or a coach that you're paying. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And it's interesting because, and I want to touch on, and this is the reason why y'all tune in, because you want a Latina perspective on all this. So I'm gonna hit you with the truth and some tough love here, people. We say, okay, believe me, I am ride or die for my people. Don't get me wrong. But because of the injustice and the social inequities in our country and the fact that I am the first generation, you can't get too picky on the race that you want your coach or your sponsor to be. I'm just going to say it. You can learn from a coach or a sponsor that is not of your race just as much, you know, like I think it makes sense to kind of gravitate towards mentors that come from your culture. I totally believe in that. In fact, and this is a side but related note, I try to support only Hispanic and people of color owned businesses. My therapist is a Latina, all that. So I am pro Latina all the way. But sometimes our mindset is such that we become so pro Black, pro Latina, whatever, that we say, I only want a Black coach. I only want a Black sponsor. Well, guess what? Because that's a growing field, right? They're in high demand. They're probably pricey too. Let's just keep it real. Sometimes you're going to learn and grow more from someone outside of your race in coaching and sponsorship than you would. I'm just keeping it real. I don't know. My first executive coach was a woman from Argentina. She's still a dear friend of mine. And then subsequently, I've had two other executive coaches, and they were white women. And I learned just as much from all of them. But I just feel that sometimes we become so stuck in this box that it has to be a person of color. And sometimes, y'all, you need that window into the insight of the people in positions of power that are not from your race. It's important. What would you say to that, Victoria?
I love that you brought up this point because, you know, people will gravitate towards those that they see themselves in, right? And they feel comfortable with. Like, let's be honest, we feel more comfortable with our people, meaning our gente from the community, versus going and speaking to, you know, this white man who we feel is not going to understand us, right? So it's, as humans, we are built to naturally gravitate towards people that look like us, right? It's why corporate is struggling right now to get people that look like us in senior ranking roles, because nobody wants to go work for that company because they don't see themselves there. So there's value in finding people that you can relate to. But my rule of thumb, whether you're looking for a mentor, a sponsor, or coach, is first identifying what's your goal. Like what you're trying to achieve.
That's important.
And then identifying who can help you achieve that goal the fastest. And that's who you should target, regardless of gender, regardless of race, right? It's who can get you to your goal the fastest, right? But to Rebecca's point, if you want to be strategic, you have to understand that the world does not revolve around Latinos, around white people, around Black people. We are a community at large. And if you want to get anything done, you need to have the most diversified network as possible, because there will be different people in positions of power and influence, which brings me to my next point. When you are seeking out a sponsor, you need someone with influence, meaning somebody who has decision-making power and that people listen to because they have influence. That's right. And so they might be white, they might be Asian, they might be Indian, right? They might be non-binary. You might have to address them as them, right? Yeah. And so you have to be open and flexible with the people that you invite in your life, regardless of what the media is trying to shove down your throat, regardless of what social injustices you might be coming across. You have to think bigger and not be afraid to color outside the lines, and also extend yourself outside of your immediate circle and what you know, right? Because the way that you're able to truly grow and get to the next level is being exposed to those different types of perspectives. Because, hey, listen, if you're getting coached, mentored, or sponsored by somebody outside of your comunidad, that's an incredible opportunity for you to gain perspective on how people really looking at you, right? How people really look at you. How are they perceiving you? And it's important to know what those different perspectives are so that you can prepare to show up that much better the next time.
No, that's absolutely right. And that's the value, actually, of having mentors. They become like your
insider.
They do. They become your insider. They uncover your blind spots. We all have blind spots, people. Yes. And there's sometimes that we do or say things that culturally is normal for us, but in a different sector, it comes across a different kind of way. And we need people in our lives that are going to lovingly, from a good place, tell us, oye, next time you should do X, Y, and Z, or say X, Y, and Z. There's a vernacular, a way that we speak, that might come up, and it's in the little things and the big things that a mentor and a coach can be really, really helpful in uncovering those blind spots.
Totally. Yeah. Just a reminder, guys, if you have questions, that little question mark kind of looks like a chat bubble. It has a question mark. That's where you want to put your questions versus the comments, because we got a lot of people coming in. By the way, if you guys are finding value in this, share this out. Share this out with the community. More people need to understand this, because I get this question all the time. Like, what's the difference between a mentor, coach, and sponsor? And so a lot of people have this same question. So let's share the knowledge. So share this out and comment done so that we know the love is real and that you sent it out. So I think what would be really helpful is sharing kind of more of our stories. Yeah. And maybe also sharing times where things didn't work out and how we handled that.
Yeah, for sure. So as I shared about my first mentor, let me talk about my first coach, Alicia. Now, I'll never forget my first coaching session with her, because quite literally, I was really struggling with how to manage my board, how to specifically talk about the P&L statements and cash flow projections, that sort of thing. This was a whole new kind of language of finance that I had to learn. And I was getting feedback from my board chair saying, hey, Rebecca, we need you to improve in this area. When you come to the board meetings and you present, on finances, we know how things are going with fundraising, but on the expense side of the house, we're kind of clueless. And so I'll never forget my first coaching session with Alicia. And I thought we were going to dive into that. And I had explained to her that this is what and as soon as I started speaking, 2 sentences, wait, stop. What did you just say? And she went in on the way I was communicating. And at first I was like, mira, esta no me está dejando hablar. But it was so helpful because she brought awareness to the way I was presenting my ideas and my thoughts that was probably not as clear. And so that was really helpful. But that first session, I gotta say, I kind of left a little bit in my feelings. I was like, I don't know how I felt about that. Coaching is going to feel very different than mentorship, you know, and goes back to what we were saying. Mentorship is more personal, it's more relational, whereas coaching, they're about the business. They're like, no, mira, this is how you need to approach this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just got to be ready for that real raw feedback. That was what was your first coaching session like, girl? Do you remember?
My first coaching session. I've had so many.
Wait, hold on. Somebody said my mentor in government sector would yell at me. I feel so happy that she did that now. You see?
Yes. You know, and you guys might have realized this in my conversations with Rebeca for La Jefa Hour, the last 4 times we've spoken. I have a very abrasive approach, right?
I think that's very New York, though.
I'm Latina. I'm Boricua. Like, listen, I'm going to give it to you straight with no chaser. And for some of you, that's hard to digest because you're like, oh my God, like, geez, that was like heavy. But a lot of you need the heavy. You need the fire under your ass. You need to be slapped around a little bit because let's be frank, we make moves when we're pushed, right? And my style is always from a place of love, never from a place of malice. But sometimes you gotta like slap somebody up with like the virtual chancleta and be like, yo, what are you doing? Right?
So long as it's not a correa. So long as it's not a correa, we're good.
You know, like, what are you doing? You know, like, you need to step it up. And if you think about, you know, great coaches, and this is why it's important to understand style and what you are receptive to. Because if you're looking for a coach that's more TLC, that's more soft, why? Why? Is it because you're going to perform better? Or is it because it's going to be easier? Right? Or are you looking for a coach that's going to snap you into business? Right? I mean, coaching is meant to snap. If you look at coaches who coach professional teams, sports teams, they're yelling. They're yelling. They're like, what are you doing? Get your head in the game, right? Because we all need that tough love. And we need people to tell us how it is if we are really ever going to progress and evolve, right? The people that tell us what we want to hear are not helping us.
Yeah.
They're actually doing us a disservice, right?
That's right. And I would be careful of coaches that use an approach that's very like mentorship like, because I feel like they're just juicing it for the hours to get paid for the hours. I don't know. Like, you're right. Like, coaching is very direct. We ain't wasting no time. You're paying me by the hour or by the month or whatever that looks like. So we're gonna get down to business and really whip you up into shape.
Right. This is not like a kumbaya session. Yeah. Like, we got goals. Like, we got things we want to achieve. Now, if you're looking for, what's up, Buckshot? We got a couple of people in here that I love. If we're looking for, you know, people to tell us that they love us and all of that, like, seek that out from family, from friends. Like, I love all my clients and I tell them that I am so grateful and I'm thankful for them. I wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for them. But I also know I'm really good at what I do, and a requirement of helping you get outside of yourself and helping you finally get out of your own way is I have to aggressively tell you that this is what you need to do or you're not going to get anywhere. And I have to hold you accountable to that, right? The kumbaya stuff, you can go to a retreat in Arizona, go to the spa, get your kumbaya on and all of that jazz, right? But if you want to get things done, then you have to have somebody who's keeping you focused, keeping you accountable, has you in a process, a regimented process, and it's robust.
That's
because it's meant to change something. It's meant to get you a result. But I have a funny story I want to share.
Dime.
And this goes to, there will be people that are mentors to you that don't even know. Like, there's people on Instagram that are mentors to me and I never even met them in person.
A good point.
Right? But I like, they're mentoring me, right? They're showing me the way. They're helping me with something. And so you will come across a lot of informal mentors in your life, which are also extremely helpful. I remember I had a boss when I was on Wall Street. She was a Black woman, tall, bald, already bold. Okay. Like, I couldn't imagine walking around bald, right? But to me, that was like badass. I was like power. And when I was on Wall Street, I thought I was super cute. I would have, you know, my suits. I would have my St. John's. I would be flying to the T, okay? So I remember one day I had wore these Tiffany earrings, and they were heart Tiffany earrings, right? One of their signature pieces. And I'm in the office strutting my stuff, and she calls me into her office, and she's like, Victoria, number one, your suit is too tight. You're showing too many curves. I was like, damn, I thought I looked fly today, but okay, right? That's number one. Number two, she said, I'm gonna need you to not wear those heart earrings anymore to the office. And I was like, pero why? Like, I'm about love. I represent love. I'm about community. Like, why? And the way she broke it down to me was, first of all, you're Latina, you're curvaceous, you're young, and people will automatically assume in this business that you're naive and you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So your look has to give the perception that you're serious, you know what you're talking about, and you just don't want attention for the wrong reasons. As an adult, I go back and forth with that feedback, but I did acknowledge the fact that the way she grew up on Wall Street versus the generation I was coming in through Wall Street was different. She was speaking from what she knew. And she also was speaking from her peers, which were senior, which had the influence and the decision-making power over my career.
That's right. That's right.
So you could look at it both ways. Like, she was looking out, or she was feeding the machine, right? Because if you act and look like everybody else, nothing's going to change, right? But it was a huge moment for me, because never was she a formal mentor of mine. Like, we never had that discussion. But she became, at that point, an informal mentor, because she really was looking out, given her experience. And so from that point on, I stopped rocking the earrings, because I didn't want to give anyone any excuse or any reason to think that I was not capable of doing the job, or to think that I was too naive, too immature, or whatever bias throw in there, right? And so I stopped rocking it. And I was more also mindful of how tight my clothes might be. But you know, this just came to my mind though. I was like, I would have felt the way if like I gained some weight, and then she was like, mija, your suit is too tight. I would have been like, excuse me.
Like, I've been eating a little too much tostones lately. Yeah.
It was the arroz con gandules that gave me this little fupa, okay? Stop judging me.
I know,
but no, you know what, example of how informal mentorship can happen.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And y'all don't ruin it by going up to the person that's taking interest in you and be like, will you officially be my mentor? Just let it ride, y'all. Just let it ride. Because usually mentors, people that are in a position to be a real powerful mentor in your life, they're usually busy. And I'll never forget, probably every time I would go to a speaking engagement or that sort of thing, and I get down from that stage, just killed it, I'd get these line of young Latina women that be like, will you be my mentor? Will you be my mentor? Will you be my mentor? And it's overwhelming. You know what I mean? So the one thing I would give as far as advice, because it's something on my notes here, I want to talk about how to secure a mentor or a coach or a sponsor. And the second thing is, once you have a mentor, how do you manage up to them? You know, don't be going up to random people when you see them get like that, you've never met them before, and then being like, will you be my mentor? It reminds me of that Dr. Seuss book of, are you my mother? You know, like, don't do that. What you want to do instead is, wow, you really inspired me. And you know what? I would love the opportunity to just have a 15-minute virtual chat to pick your brain on something, you know, whatever that is, you know, in my career. That is more disarming for me, because when, as a person that is in a position to mentor, when I hear someone ask me outright with that, that's like asking someone that you're starting a first date, will you marry me? You know, like that's how it feels, because mentors who are good at doing that, they'll look at it, you know, it's a time commitment. I'm investing in your personal, maybe even professional growth. And so, So don't do that. That's the don'ts. Don't go up to random people and ask them to be your mentor. If anything, just ask them for some, 15 minutes of your time to be a thought partner to me on this particular situation I'm going through, or blah, blah, blah. Or I'd love to just be chill about it, y'all. Don't be acting professionally thirsty. Okay. And
I'm gonna say that the next time someone asks me, I'll be like, listen, you're acting professionally thirsty right now, and I can't handle it. Come back to me another time when you're less parched. Okay? Okay.
That's right, girl. And my next point touches on what you just covered, that mentors are sometimes right under your nose and they're mentoring you actively and you're just not seeing it as such. So if there's someone that is in a position of power and influence in your job, in your social circle, and they're giving you unsolicited advice because of what they're observing, you already got yourself a mentor pretty much. You just are not calling it or seeing it in that way. Now, maybe there's someone at your job that they're a badass in what they're doing in their department. And you're like, wow, this is a person that I aspire to be someday. It's okay for you, again, with that approach. Hey, you really inspire me with that project that you did. Do you have 15 minutes for coffee, or maybe we can grab lunch, sometime, blah, blah. I'd love to get to know you better. And especially some mentors and coaches, they got big egos. And it's good to kind of stroke that ego a little bit and say, but it's the truth. If somebody's inspiring you and you aspire to be like them in that way, it's okay to let them know that you've inspired them. But at the same time, it's working your benefit, because cada mundo le gusta que le tiren las flores, right? Mm-hmm. So, and as far as coaching and finding the right coach, once you have mentors or your bosses or this, ask them, like, hey, are there any really good coaches that you would recommend for this particular skill set that I'm trying to develop? Maybe it's a skill set around finance. Maybe it's a skill set around public speaking. Maybe it's a skill set around IT. I don't know. But you need whatever that is for yourself. You should ask within your circle of people of influence. They will know, or just do your research, online, and find coaches that way as well. How do a lot of people, because you're in business as a coach, Victoria, how do the majority of people find you?
So the majority of people find me through referrals. So that's one, right? When you get results for people and you deliver, it's very easy for someone to promote you, which is what you want, right? Because that will go a lot further versus you trying to promote yourself. Social media is huge for me. I get a lot of traction on social media. It's why I show up even when I don't want to, because, it's part of the business plan. It's part of the marketing plan. And another way is going to events, right? Introducing myself, letting people know what my expertise is, speaking on panels, taking advantage of being on people's podcasts, whatever allows me to be introduced to new audiences is how you grow your brand, right? And how you're able to keep people, bring in new leads into your business. But you said a couple of things about how to secure folks. And I have this one excellent tip. Everybody get your notebook, get your pen, all of that jazz. I got this from my girlfriend, Alicia Reese, who is like a relationship expert. And what she does, and what I started to do, which is amazing, if there's someone at an event that I'm particularly, moved by, what they're saying resonates with me, and I'm like, you know what, I wanna connect with this person. This can be for a mentorship opportunity. It can also be for a business opportunity, right? It's somebody of influence, somebody you want to get into business with. This is what you can do. If you're at an event and they're talking, you're gonna pull out your phone and you're gonna record them. You're going to take pictures of them. You're going to get sound bites of things that they said that resonates well because it resonates with you. And then after they get off the panel and you're waiting online to talk to them, or however you're able to get across to them, you say, hey, listen, that was an incredible speech. I learned, say, one or two things, and you were so amazing. I actually took some social media clips for you. Are you interested? Can I send them to you? What's your email? Or what's your assistant's email? Or what's your phone number? I'll send it to you right here, right? Now you separated yourself from everyone else, because guaranteed everyone that's talking to them is probably saying the same thing, like, oh my God, this is so great, this was amazing, thank you, which is excellent, right? We want to give people their flowers when they're here. But if you're trying to stand out and differentiate yourself and add value, which is the fastest way for someone to pay attention to you and for someone to give you their time and for someone to agree to do something you are asking them to do, is to provide value first, right? Volunteer in some capacity, provide some type of service first. And in the height of social media, where everybody wants to be seen and everybody understands the value of being seen, that is a great way for you to already create value and also start a relationship from there, because then you can take the relationship to another place and they'll also remember you because you gave them all these badass clips that they can now use on social media.
That is a knowledge bomb right there, because it speaks also to the ego part that I was talking about. I mean, truth be told, and it's not about huge egos. We all have some type of ego, some more than others, but it has to be mutual, you know, as far as the value that's added. And if you're coming right out the gates in the way that Victoria just mentioned, saying, hey, I got this for you. Here's some content. What's your email? Let me send it to you. It was powerful. I had to videotape it. You fill in the blanks. But that's a really, really powerful note. I love that idea.
It's also a great way if you see someone who's going to be speaking at an event and you want to go to the event, maybe you don't have all the funds to go to the event, you can volunteer and say, hey, listen, I would love to be your, on-site social media person. Is there an extra ticket that you have? Or do you mind if I just show up, right? If you want to take the investment. Like literally you can make that work in so many different ways.
I love that. That's powerful.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I need this. This is amazing. Like, yes, I'm going to do this all the time. And it works. It works.
It does. Now, as far as managing up, this is a terminology that we use a lot in the workspace, is how do you manage up to your boss? That basically means like, how do you effectively get what you need from your higher ups? How do you effectively get what you need from your mentor or coach? And this shows up especially in mentorship relationships. I can't tell you how many times, Victoria, where somebody asked me to be their mentor and I'm like, yes. And then we have our first coffee conversation. And after the pleasantries and the intros and stuff, I'm like, okay, so what kind of support do you need from me? You know, like what? And there's like deer in the headlights. You cannot come to those conversations unprepared. You have to, when you're managing up to a mentor, be thinking about the specific areas that you'd like to grow in. I already talked about what that was for me in terms of at the very beginning when I had a coach in Alicia. This also applies for coaching as well. So what I would have Alicia do is she would sit in as a fly on the wall with the permission of my board. Because the board knew the organization was paying for her services. And so I said, you guys, I need Alicia to be in the board meeting so she can observe me and give me feedback. And so that's one way to manage up. Have them observe you in your natural space of whatever it is that you're trying to grow in. And for the board situation, it was that. For my mentor, Mary, I'll never forget one time in Washington, D.C., I had a keynote address to deliver at the National Press Club. I just needed her there for moral support, really. And so one of the things I said to her is like, I need you to go and observe me, pray for me before I get out onto that stage. And that's exactly what she did. You have to manage up people. Don't expect people to be mind readers and know exactly how and when to work with you. So come to the table. I know it's really, you get starstruck when you're dealing with people that you admire and you want to be like them. Don't expect that when you sit down, they're going to have they don't know you. You have to really, really put them in positions where they're observing you in your space and can give you active feedback on whatever it is that you want to grow in. So, because especially with mentorship, it's kind of an ambiguous space if it's a person that you didn't know for some time, you know? How do you manage up to your people, your coaches?
So the way that I manage up is, to your point, having an agenda, right? Busy people don't want to think more than they have to. And if they are doing you the favor of offering mentorship, right, that means that you control that relationship, right? You should set the schedule. You should say, hey, I'm thinking we should meet twice a month. Are you okay with this? Should it be once a month? I'll send an agenda a week in advance so that they know what it is that you want to speak about, because it's your responsibility to manage that relationship, not the mentors, because more likely than not, your mentors are busy. They ain't got time. Same thing with your sponsor. You are managing that relationship. You're letting them know the latest accolade. You're letting them know, you know, what you're up to. It's not the other way around, right? Because they are providing a service to you. Now, when it comes to coaching, you also have to have an idea of what it is that you need, right? Because that will also help you identify the right coach for you, right?
You know, and what I love that you described last week in our session is how you go about that even with your clients, that you set up, what is it, a 45-minute conversation for free and say like, okay, where you're at, where are you at in your business, you know, and between you and that person, you determine, hey, what's the right fit for you? Because for those of you that don't know, Victoria has free offerings and she has paid offerings too. Right. And so this is at no cost to people to just figure out what would be a right fit based on your offerings, you know? And so it's such an important point that you got to come prepared. Send the agenda and send the meeting maker.
Right.
And ask them, do you want to do this over the phone, over FaceTime, over Zoom? And I can tell you when people approach me in that way, I'm impressed. I'm like, man, they took a lot of work off my plate. Now I don't have to worry about putting this in my calendar. Those little things matter, you know, and it gives you insight onto how organized and how people value your time.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, you're the architect of your career, of your life. You know, you're the designer, right? And so you have to put in the work to implement the design, and then you go and recruit the people that are going to help you bring that design to life, right?
That's right.
So you have to be proactive, and you have to manage. When the higher someone is, the more managed they need to be, because they are just being pulled in so many different directions. And it's not personal that they're dropping the ball on you. They just don't have the capacity. Yeah. And so however you can make their lives easier, the more they will value you, right? And the more they will give you if you can make their lives easier. And this is especially true for your bosses. For those of you who are still working, if you can make your boss's life easier, they will cherish you and they will think about you when opportunity comes. If you can make your boss look better in their role, they will think of you. For those of you in business, right? If you can make your client's life easier, provide convenience, help them get to a solution faster, right? They will remember that and they will pay you more the next time around, or they will recommend you, right? You always have to be thinking about, okay, what can I give, which will inevitably allow you to receive, right? But you have to be open to giving, which is why this is such an incredible segue. I have this free training that is pinned here, which is my give, right? My give is, hey, for those of you who are interested in starting a business, want to make the transition from corporate or your 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship, but don't know where to start, tap into that free training. It's literally my 3-step formula that you can apply today to start making the transition, even if you don't know what type of business to start and have only one source of income, all right? And once you watch that training, if you want to move forward, you do have an opportunity to book something called the Magic Call, which is the call that Rebecca mentioned, to talk about next steps. So give, right? Give people so that they are able to learn more about you, so that they are able to see your expertise at large and able to experience it themselves, because somebody's not going to give something to you if they don't know you from nowhere. Why would they? You know what I mean? Because they don't know you, especially if it's a big ask like mentorship or coaching or sponsorship. Like, that is a big ask. And so if you want to position yourself for success, think about, how can I give so that I can then receive?
No, that's a really, really good point. And y'all, when you're dealing with really powerful, busy people, don't be offended if once you call them for your scheduled session, they're en route to the airport, or you can hear that there's a lot of noise, or like, don't get personally offended by that stuff. They're literally squeezing you into their busy schedule. And I will tell my mentees, like, if they're calling me and I set up the call with them and I'm on my way to go do something, I got the kids in the back, you know, making noise, I will say right off the bat, listen, I'm sorry, but XYZ, what can I support you with? And we just, my mentees know, like, I'm a busy working mom, you know, whatever. There's a permission structure for that. But if this is new for you, having a mentor, and you notice that they seem not distracted, but that they're busy. Yes, they're busy. You want a powerful, influential mentor to open those doors for you through that mentorship. So just give those people grace as well. So important. Now, there are a couple of questions because we're drawing to a close here. But some people, I hope my fat thumbs don't touch the wrong thing here. Okay. Okay. So when looking for a mentor, how do you get away from feeling like you are taking advantage of a mentor? And then someone else asked, what advice can you give for a 50-plus-year-old woman who works in corporate and needs to rebrand ourselves in this market? So rebranding yourself in a market over 50, I'll let you answer that, Victoria. And then when looking for a mentor, how do you get away from feeling like you're taking advantage? You know what? Get over it. That's my best advice. Get over it. If they said yes to mentoring you, sin pena, sin lástima, you go, you know, grab the bulls by the horn and take advantage of that relationship as much as possible. And I mean, within reason, you're not going to take advantage, but don't feel bad that they're giving you their time. Those are also like mental blockades that you have to get over, you guys, is that if somebody said yes to you, just believe that they see something in you of talent that they want to dive into and grow, and don't feel bad about it. Just literally get over that.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, if you're overstepping or crossing boundaries, they will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
They will be like, you're asking for too much, or we need to slow down, or let's start here and then we'll see, you know, if we can extend this relationship, right? So, you know, you position yourself for your need, right?
Yeah.
And what it is that you want.
A really good example of that, Victoria, is I've had first session mentees that will say to me, oh, I see that you know such and such is a big donor to your organization. Can you send me an email intro so that way I can ask him for money? No, I'm not going to do that, because first of all, mamita, I just met you. And these are my relationships that I've built over time. Maybe in some months, as I get to know you and I know that what you're raising money for is, you know, really powerful and impactful, and yes, my donor can help you with that, yeah, then maybe we can do an email intro. But don't be going in with huge asks in the beginning. Like, don't do like the verbal, you know, what do they call it? Verbal diarrhea, where you're just telling them everything you want from them. Poquito a poco, you know, just let that relationship evolve, and they will tell you, you know, like I've told, no, that's, you know what, why don't we just, of course, I don't say it that rough or whatever, but I'll say, you know what, why don't we get to know each other a little bit better? I want to better understand what your nonprofit is, what you're trying to do, because maybe he's not a right fit, but another type of donor or foundation is the right fit. So let's take some time exploring what that looks like, you know? Mm-hmm. So there's a way that you can speak to it where you can set that boundary and not make the person feel like they're taking advantage of you.
Totally. And I would add to that real quickly, that's going to take practice on your end, right? Sometimes you're going to get it right. Sometimes you're not. That's okay, right? Yeah. You're only going to get better on how to make strategic asks with practice, right? That's right. But you have to start and you have to put yourself out there. So for the woman who asked a question about reinvention, you know, branding, all of that. So the first thing I want to debunk is this ageism. Because the fact that you said, hey, I'm a 50-year-old woman and I want to know how to rebrand, already that's signaling to me that there's something in you that believes that it's different for you to rebrand yourself because you're 50 versus a 20-year-old. And it's not. Right? That's it's not. So the first limiting belief is we need to remove the ageism, right? Because it doesn't matter what age you are. And the proof is in the pudding, hon. You have all these grannies on TikToks who are booming, making crazy dough. Like, it doesn't
grannies.
Las abuelas, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are, how old you think you are. Listen, 30 is the new 20, 50 is the new 30. That's just what it is, okay? So let's eliminate that first, or thinking that it's too late. Like, it's too late. I'm already stuck in this position. It'll be too much for me to reinvent myself. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want you to think about, and this is going to take work on your end, is what are you trying to do next? Like, what is the goal of the rebrand? You know, are you entering into a new career? Are you starting a business? Are you transitioning? Like, what is the purpose of the rebrand? What are you hoping to get out of the rebrand? What is the goal? Because that will serve as your compass as you build out the strategy of how you should go about delivering your new reinvention to the world. Is you have to first identify who do you want to be next, right? And what do you want to do next? And then once you are able to identify that, then the next question is, how can I tell the most people about it? And then go out there and do exactly those things. But those are kind of the first 3 high-level steps without knowing any more information that I would advise you to take.
No, for sure. That's very wise and sound advice. Okay, y'all. Now it's time to say goodbye to all our family. Okay. This has been so much fun, girl. I've had the best time covering these subjects with you and bringing it to our respective communities. For those of you, I know Victoria mentioned it several times, but it is pinned, the link to her free training. It's also, for those of you who are watching this, because I'm going to post this onto my profile, my grid, whatever you want, my page. And so you can go follow Victoria, go to the link in her bio and access those free trainings that she has. But she also has gifted us with her YouTube channel that has housed all of the 4 Jefa Hour episodes. There were 3 others that we did. One that we started off about what does it mean, our Latinidad? How do you show up authentically? The second one, how do you pick the right life and business partner? The third being daring to leap into business for yourself. You know, like how you do that while you're working your 9 to 5. Shared some knowledge bombs there. And today's session. So make sure that you go to her YouTube channel, subscribe to it. And it's right there, all of the sessions that we've had in La Jefa Hour for Hispanic Heritage Month. Girl, I've had a blast.
I've had so much fun. And the YouTube channel, guys, just so you know, it's Victoria Jenn TV. That's the YouTube channel. Make sure you leave your feedback over there, comments, love, all the vibes. But this was awesome. Like, this literally was us making this up like out of nowhere, and then be like, we're gonna go and we're gonna do it. And I hope that seeing us collaborate in this way shows you that it's possible. If there's somebody on social media, somebody you want to collaborate with, like, start building a relationship with them so that you can collaborate and create magic together. And it doesn't need to be super complex. It doesn't need to take a lot of time. It doesn't need to be, you know, high pressure. Have fun with it. And I think that's what made this work out so well, because Rebeca's fun. I like to think that I'm fun. And it wouldn't feel stuffy. Like, it wouldn't feel like too intense. It would feel fun, and it would feel like, you know, we're giving back to our community. And we're also learning about each other and building our relationship right in front of your eyes. Like, now Rebeca and I have a new layer to our relationship because of this series. So thank you for that opportunity, mi amor.
Thank you, Mama. This was your idea, girl. So kudos to you. All right, everyone. Like I said, I'm saving this to my page so you can share it out to your networks. And this has been fun. And remember, it's La Jefa Hour, not heifer. We're not heifer.
That's right. So let, you know, all those outside the community know.
Right. Jefa is boss lady. That's what it means. Boss lady. All right, Mama. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.